Hey guys, welcome back to the segment. This week is actually pretty special. We've got Mr. Tony Innes here. He's the accidental publican. I'm not sure if he came up with that name, but anyway, he's got the Noonamah pub out there, a very, very famous pub in the Northern Territory climate. Rich history. Welcome, Tony. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, Chris.
You good, mate? Good to see you. I'm not sure we're allowed to do that these days. But anyway, there'll be someone with a safety clipboard trying to shut us down. Yeah. But listen, tell me about the pub, mate. Long history, and why do they call you the accidental publican?
Literally because I actually stumbled on the pub for sale when we were actually looking at a farming enterprise. So we come from a farming background in South Australia. Out
of farming into buying a pub?
Yeah, got the taste for it when we were young and single, and first working around stations, that type of thing. Got into the contracting business, started coming to the Territory, and it sort of grew from there. So we had this aspiration to sell up down south and move the whole family up to the NT and buy some land up here. And literally saw the pub for sale, and I just felt as though we weren't quite cashed up enough to get the size property we wanted. So we made a suggestion to the family, why don't we just buy the pub for
you do
2 or 3 years and get a bit better cashed up, and then continued with our farming then.
So tell us about the pub.
The pub's always had a great little beer garden. Obviously, that's where most of our focus has been, improving that outside, the outdoor area. Yes, we've done a lot of changes there. A lot of them, machinery upgrades, that type of thing. Did extend the bottle shop, but yeah, just haven't changed the overall structure of it. Just improved it, and that's the best aspect of having a pub up here is the outdoor side of things. And there's not too many beer gardens left up in the Territory anymore, so we're pretty proud of that fact.
So tell me about, let's talk, the whole idea is to get you in here and talk about the behind the scenes of business.
Yep.
And having the Publican here is good. So you've bolted on these extra businesses, one of them being the rodeo.
Yep.
From the outside, it looks incredibly profitable. I look at it, I see thousands of people you're putting on, national magazines, the whole bit. So I imagine there's some blood, sweat, red tape behind the scenes. How does it all work?
Well, it started back in 2011, and a good mate of mine, Dallas Wilczewski, he's a local stock contractor. He just said, should we have a go at trying a rodeo at Noonamah? So, and that's basically how it started. So we approached the neighbour about grabbing a little bit more dirt to set it up, and it grew from there. Everything was portable and at ground level when we started, and then over time it grew, and we put a few structures in place, and now you see all what it's grown into, sort of thing. But and it was. Has
it been hard?
Yeah, look, it was probably easier at the start, but as it grew, things got more complicated. And it wasn't until the past probably 2 to 3 years that then different government departments started to come along telling us, well, we shouldn't actually be doing that there without that that underlying land zoning, and those structures need to have this and that, and that just started the snowball effect of red tape.
So here's a question for you. Talking about the pub, how important is food in a pub?
Well, very important. Our pubs traditionally, the front bar's a tradies bar, always has been. Your tradies, your ringers, a few bikies and so forth. But it's mellowed out a lot over the years. Now we've got that side of it still the same, but the bistro's more family friendly. Yep. We do get a lot of families. We've got a slip and slide out in the beer garden here to keep the kids happy. Like, you keep the kids happy, the parents can sit down and enjoy a Sunday lunch and a few beers and so forth. Bit of light entertainment. So
the food's critical.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'd imagine you've still got the same overheads as I guess a schwanky restaurant. And
that's the hard thing. Pub food's hard because you like you said, your overheads are the same, but people automatically assume and demand cheaper food, but they don't necessarily. They still want the quality. So
that's correct.
The margins are pretty tight with food, but we've got a really good operator in there now. Good, bit like us, good family backing. and that's
Do you lease out the kitchen, or
yeah, it is at the moment,
totally
and it's
leased
just
out,
it's
yep.
less hassles, so they look after the food and the employment side of it there. We just look after the rest.
Yeah, good.
And works good.
So tell me this. Let's. I know my eldest daughter, had some real trouble for a while back trying to get a job when she was in Brisbane. She went to 60 interviews, and it was all about the resume, and there was a lot of pressure on the resume. Obviously, you employ a lot of people. How important is that resume, and what are you looking for that someone you're going to employ?
Yeah, the resume is a good starting point, but giving someone a trial period. Well, the first day, you give them a go. You'll soon know whether they're cut out for the job or if it's what they want, you want, sort of thing. And you've got to keep that opportunity open to people. You say, well, we always put someone on a trial period.
Yep.
It may not be what they want either. And obviously we reserve the right of thinking, well, you're not suited to the job.
Suited.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that, I guess for people out there watching, is that it's not all about the resume.
No.
You get in and have a crack and show that sense of enthusiasm.
Yeah. Be willing to listen and learn.
Yeah.
Because we're all a bit cocky when we're younger, think we already know it all, and then years later you realise how little you did know when you're first starting out. So, but just be enthusiastic and have a crack,
mate. These days it's all about the hourly rate and what are the benefits if I work for you.
Yeah,
I feel like saying a job, you little punk.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's generational change, but there's still a lot of good young people out there that want to have a crack too.
So here's a question for you. Really different for you, I guess, yourself, obviously with your family, creating, I guess, a company and pooling your assets and putting that all together. I mean, you hear just war stories of partnerships, of trying to divide up assets. And what advice would you give to anyone or families or anyone that are looking to put a partnership together or want to start a business? Because you've obviously done it very successfully.
You got to get the structure right to start with, I think. When we started farming, initially, the farm was owned by Mum and Dad, my brother and sister-in-law, and myself and my ex-wife. We had our own smaller parcels of land that we built on and so forth. We had money tied up in machinery and livestock and all that. So we pulled all the assets, but we set up a structure where we had a company and a trust. Yep. And then also a discretionary family trust as well. So, and it just makes we all gave equal input, so that was pretty easy. And then
so it was easy to cut up if you needed to.
Yeah, that's right. And we did after a few years in the Territory. My brother and sister-in-law went back to SA to buy a farm back down there. So it was pretty simple. We just revalued things. We split the capital gain evenly, and my ex-wife and I were lucky enough we had a couple of properties, investment houses that we sold. We raised a bit of capital there, went to the next stage sort of thing. So, and it all turned out pretty good.
So what advice would you give to sort of trying to keep that sort of that business hat on? What would you, like, obviously you've been sort of a bit of an entrepreneur, worked for yourself your whole life, I can pick up. You've not been one that's...
I've done a bit of everything, but we always, like I said, we had that family farm to start with, but it was never quite big enough. So we all went off and did bits and pieces, you know. So, and I think that's one of the hard things with kids today. They got to realise, like, where we lived, there was plenty of opportunity to do other work, almond knocking, olive knocking, fruit picking, all sorts of things. Yep. There was always casual, we used to cart hay, bought our first truck doing that sort of thing. And then that's how we got into the hay contracting business, and then bought machinery. So you just, you got to diversify yourself a bit when you're younger, I think, and then ultimately you aim to work for yourself.
How does, and obviously you've done that and done it very, very successfully, mate. So what advice would you give to someone that wants to start their own business, other than understanding setting up the company structures? I get all of that, but I mean, you said to me, you said a comment before, common sense is something you've almost got to go to school for these days.
It's heading that way, isn't it? But I think if you want to start out in business, obviously get research.
Research is critical.
We bought an existing business, but to me that was you know, the location was a big part. But if you any sort of business starting up from scratch, you know, research. If you're buying existing business, get accurate figures, and do your own bit of research too.
Yep.
For that type of business, the location was a big factor.
Location was critical.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so here's a left curveball. If let's say our current chief minister said, Tony, we want to put you on an advisory board. You're going to be one of my chief advisors.
Yep.
And you got a shot to give the chief some advice. What advice would you give him?
Probably get rid of 2/3 of them.
Of the advisors.
Yeah. And get not so much the advisors, but there's too many sitting people getting advice. Like, I think you could work far more efficiently with a smaller group. Absolutely outsourced to get the right advice, but there's just too many different departments that don't communicate, don't work together. We experienced it with the rodeo. You know, applications for this, but this department doesn't talk to that one, and it's just
red tape
after red tape, and you get over one hurdle, and then they raise the bar, and there's another hurdle, and it's endless. You know, that's the biggest thing to put you off trying to start up business or grow business is red tape.
Yep. And I think, you know, I guess I draw the analogy, it's like a ship with 3 or 4 different rudders. It's got it's impossible to get to one destination.
Exactly.
And I think, in our climate right now, we need very, very clear leadership. You know, so, no, good, mate. Hey, listen, congratulations on what you've built out there. You've got a great reputation, long-standing pub in the NT. I mean, I hope you keep going with that rodeo. I don't know if you've made $1 out of it, but, mate, you've done really... You're a great community advocate out there. Yeah, well,
I've got to drop my COVID plan off this afternoon, so ultimately that's the final say. So if we can meet the criteria, we're still hoping to do the September rodeo. It's one of those things, like, it's, you know, people think we're getting rich out of it. It's far from the truth. Like,
I know.
The years we have made profit, we've reinvested. The last couple of years we haven't actually covered costs. People find that hard to believe, but a lot of people don't realise how much it costs to put on. But I still get a buzz out of doing it. It's good for the community. It employs a lot of local small businesses and individuals. And it's something good for the rural people to go to. And we do get a lot of people come out from town as well. So, I'm still pretty hopeful we can get the September one in. So just see how our COVID safety plan comes back.
That's
and
it.
A few other red tape issues, and we might still get there.
Hey, mate, thanks for coming and seeing us. I'll have to come out to the pub and have a drink, and I'll make sure I won't have my baileys and milk. I'll make sure I get, a real full strength.
Get your rum and coke or something.
A rum and coke, but, mate, awesome.
Cheers.
All the very, very best out there.
Thanks, Chris.